race is still wide open. I think the three leading candidates are vulnerable in many ways in a race against President Trump. So I don't really think any of the polls really matter into the Iowa caucus, which is not that far away, but folks in Iowa are really now starting to pay attention, and I think they're going to disconnect from the national polling and really make the decisions the way they always have, which is by meeting people and getting a sense for who they are. I think I'm the right person for the job for very different reasons. I think the central issue facing this country is how terribly divided we are. And I think our next president has to be someone who wants to unify this terribly divided nation. And that's been a core tenet of my campaign from the beginning. I also think we need to actually start solving some of these problems. And a lot of people who are running on kind of impossible promises or things that'll never happen. And what our next president needs to do is actually start addressing some of these issues. So we need someone who's got a track record like I do, not only as a bipartisan leader in the Congress, but also as a successful entrepreneur, someone who started businesses, created thousands of jobs. No one else has that background who's running.
If you don't finish in the top tier in Iowa, are you prepared to leave the race, or do you plan to keep going?
Well, I've always said Iowa's very important to me, so I have to do well in Iowa.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
What is up, guys? This is Mateo's 2020 Politics here. Once again, we have a video on... Sorry, I thought it stopped recording. John Delaney. Now, you can see he's completely delusional here. This was just a small fraction of the interview, but if you want to see the full thing, I will put the link in the description down below. And so, the delusional part about this interview, or him rather, he's like, because she asked him, oh, what if you don't do well in Iowa? And he's like, well, my goal is to do well in Iowa. But you haven't answered the question, because he's actually said that he will stay in the race until at least New Hampshire, which in and of itself is delusional. Now, he's one of those candidates who's way too optimistic, and it seems like they aren't trying to be optimistic, they're just straight up delusional. He was saying stuff like, well, the polls don't really matter up until Iowa, because I think that I'm sure by the time that we get to Iowa, the voters are going to all change their minds. Now, the term anything is possible is true, but when you're just relying on the term anything is possible, it's the only thing you're relying on, that one term, to become president, you're kind of doomed. Because candidates like Bernie, Warren, or Biden don't have to worry about the term anything is possible. Even a miracle could happen. Because John Delaney is waiting for a miracle. Why? Because he's polling at 0.3%. I mean, he's polling under one candidate named Joe Sestak, who hasn't even been in any of the debates. Imagine polling below a candidate who hasn't been in any debates at all. Oh, and actually, two candidates who haven't been in any debates, including Tom Steyer, who just qualified for the next debate, by the way. And also, he magically thinks he's going to, surge in popularity later in his campaign. But, I mean, if anything, he's going to go down. He has been going down. He lost like half his support because when you aren't in the debates for a while, people start getting bored of him and start looking at the real candidates. And he hasn't been in one full debate yet. And the debate thresholds get harder and harder, so I don't know what miracle he's looking for. But if it gets harder and harder to get into debates and his popularity is going down, he might never be in a debate ever again. Now, another thing he said, which is probably his sub campaign slogan, is real solutions, not impossible promises. Now, what does he mean by impossible promises? He means Medicare for all. Because some people are running on Medicare for all, he's running for anti-Medicare for all. Universal health care, Obamacare. And he somehow thinks it's an impossible promise, when if anything, universal health care is more of an impossible promise than Medicare for all. Medicare for all has a 70% approval rating. It polls at 70%. The lowest polls ever have it in the early 50s. So I don't understand how that's an impossible promise. But you see, he wants to paint it as an impossible promise because he's too corporate. I mean, for goodness sakes, only 0.3% of his total donations in dollars, 0.3%, have been from actual individual people. The rest have come from either corporations or have been self-funded. So, obviously, corporate Democrat is not going to be for a single-payer health system that's provided by the government, you know? So he wants to paint it as an impossible promise when it isn't, because if Bernie Sanders, when Bernie becomes president, he's going to have to show the congressman, look, man, Medicare for all is popular, so start working for the people. But with John Delaney, he's going to act like it isn't even popular, you know? He can't even acknowledge it's popular. He acts like it isn't popular, you know? There's, I'd actually be happy if he were to say, look, man, I know it's popular, but here are my reasons to not want it. He doesn't even do that. He just pretends it isn't. He also makes a talking point of, we can't take healthcare away from millions of people. Well, don't think of it as taking away healthcare. Think of it as giving free healthcare. But all the corporate Democrats try to paint it as something that's being taken away rather than something that's being actually given to you for free. So, and he says, well, the core issue is we need to, end this division. We need to unite this country. And I believe I've been running to unite this country. What? Because, I'm sorry, but if you're running against the most popular policies that the people want, and you're just screwing the people over, that's not trying to unite the country. You're just dividing even more. Actually, you're not dividing. You're just straight up going against what the majority of Americans want. So I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard to tell if this guy either just doesn't know what he's doing. He actually believes that Medicare for all isn't popular, which means that he's naive and he doesn't understand what he's even saying, or he does know what he's saying, but he's just trying to manipulate. Either way, he's a corporate guy. And, I mean, one thing, I like his smile. It's very quirky. It's kind of cute. But it's kind of awkward. Every single time he finishes speaking, he has to smile. Especially when he gets interrupted, or he's getting roasted by Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. So, again, once again, I'm going to repeat the summary of this video. He says that, don't worry about the polls. I'm depending on a miracle to help me in Iowa and New Hampshire. Then he also said, my whole campaign has been about uniting the country. We have to end this division. No, not true. And then he also says, we need real solutions, not impossible promises. So, this is possibly the most corporate Democrat in the race. He is my least favorite candidate, but at the same time, most favorite. How's that possible? Well, I really despise him, but at the same time, I love him because it's fun to talk about him, and it's fun to make videos on him. There's a point where you dislike somebody so much that you actually like them because they're interesting. So, I used to dislike Joe Biden more, but I dislike this guy more now, even more than him. So, this guy's gonna need his own playlist. I've made a couple videos on him. So, you guys probably will see a playlist on him, and see you guys later. Moral of the video, don't be delusional, and don't be manipulative, because people will discover it eventually. Will discover your tactics eventually. Well, if you're delusional, aka naive, or naive, they aren't tactics, it's you. And I don't know which is worse, to be naive / delusional, or just manipulative / lying. So, thanks for watching this video, guys, and bye. Moral of the video, don't be John Delaney.